Hello again, fourth grade friends. Miss Talise here. One of the things that I wanted to start with this week was just reviewing some of the different strategies that we learned for multi-digit multiplication. So that's where we're going to start. And you know me, you know I love my smartboard. So I figured out how to use PowerPoint, which is very similar to what we've been doing in class. So hopefully this works for what we're doing today. So the first problem that we're going to do is 234 times 3. And if we remember the different multiplication strategies that we learned to help solve this problem to find our product is using a place value chart, using the partial products method, or just straight up multiplying using the standard algorithm. And we're going to go through all of those strategies and review them right now. So our first one is our place value chart, and we've been doing this since the very beginning of the year. So we already know how to set up our number 234 into our place value chart. 2 hundreds, 3 tens, 4 ones. Easy peasy. Okay, now the next thing that when we're multiplying, what we need to pay attention to is how many times we're going to put that 234 into our multiplication chart. And as we can see, we are timesing it by 3, so we're going to put 234 3 times. So I already have it once, so I just need to add it a second time and a third time. So as you can see, I have 234 3 times, which is showing 234 times 3. Now all I have to do is I have to add up how many place value discs or how many dots, whatever you want to call them, in my chart to figure out my product or my answer. So I always start with the ones place. So over here with my ones, I count them up and I get 12. Now, from what we remember, we cannot have more than 9 in any place value. So what we have to do is we have to bundle 10 of those discs or dots or whatever you want to call them and move them over to our tens place. So I'm going to count up 10 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I am going to move them over to my tens place. 10 ones equals 1 10. So as you can see at the bottom down here, I just took those tens, put them all together and bundled them together to create 1 10. Now I can look at my ones place. I have 1 2. I can have 2 ones. That's way less than 9. So count them up. Put my 2 at the bottom of my place value chart and also put it into my equation. And I make sure that I show that I carried those 10 ones over to my tens place by writing my 1 on top of my 3 tens. All right, so the next thing I have to do is I have to count up my tens. And as you can see, I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 because we added this last one. But as we remember, we cannot have 10 tens. The most we can have is 9. So what we have to do, we have to bundle them all together and move them over to the hundreds place. 10 tens is equal to 100. So I take that and I just move it right over, and then I get rid of my tens in my place value chart. So now I have 0 tens, which I show in my equation, and I make sure that I also show that 1 10 or that 100 that I carried over to my hundreds place. Okay, now all I do is I I count up my hundreds, and when I do that, I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because remember, we had this one that we bundled from our tens place. So I don't have any more place values that I have to worry about. I don't have to bundle anything. So I am finished answering my equation. My answer is 702. Now, this is a really good strategy to use if you're more a visual learner, if you like to work things out as you're working. Another strategy is the partial product method, and I underlined part because this is where we take our number 234 and we break it up into parts, or we break it into place values, and we are taking that 3 and multiplying it by each part or each place value. So the first thing that we do is we take our 3 times our 4 ones, which gives us 12 ones. And I'm just going to put it right here underneath my equation. Then I take my 3 times my 3 tens. Now remember, it's not just a 3. It's 3 tens because it's in the tens place. 3 tens is 30. So I'm going to be figuring out 30 times 3, which is 90. Because if we remember, 3 times 3 is 9 with 1 0. And then I just put it right underneath my 12. Please make sure that if this is the way that you choose, you make sure you line your numbers up. Because if they're not lined up correctly, you will not get a correct answer. All right, next step. Very easy. I take my 3 and I times it by my 200s. So essentially I'm figuring out 3 times 200, which is 600. 2 times 3 is 6. 1, 2 zeros, 1, 2 zeros in our product. And I just put it right down here underneath my equation, remembering and making sure that I line up all my numbers correctly. All right. The next thing I do, I don't have any more numbers or any more place values, so I just take my 12, my 90, and my 600, and I add them together. I did it here so you can see a little bit better, and also down here to show you that that's where we would ideally write our partial products. We just add them up. 2 tens, 0 tens, and 700s. Which gives us the same exact answer, 702. So no matter which way I choose, I still get the same answer. And finally, just our straight up standard algorithm. If we want to just multiply straight across, if we're able to do that, that's awesome. You can absolutely try this way. This might be the way that your parents remember learning it growing up. So basically all we do is we take our 3 times our 4, which is 12. We write our 2 ones down here and we carry our 110 over to our tens place. Okay, then we take our 3 times our 3 tens, which gives us 9 tens, but we add our 110, which gives us 10 tens. So we drop down our 0, and we carry those 10 tens over to our hundreds place. Then we take our 3 and we multiply it by our 200s, which gives us 600s, plus our 100 that we carried from our tens place, which gives us 700. And again, we can see that our answer or our product is 702. So it does not matter which way you choose, you will get the same answer or the same product no matter what. Okay, so this was just a quick review. Up next, I'm going to show you how to get into Zearn. I would love for you to do a little bit of practice on Zearn. All the information is in the next part of the video. So please check it out if you are able to. Happy math! All right, friends, I would like you to log on to www.zearn.org. and everybody has their own login, their own username and password. Everybody's password is the same, all lowercase, password one. If you need your username, just email me or reach out to me on Dojo. I can get that to you. I would like everyone to please log on to this if you can. I set everybody up to multiplication practice, so it will start going over multiplication of multi-digit numbers, of big numbers. So what's going to happen is when you log in, this is my sample one. I made up a fake account, so don't worry, it's none of yours. When you first go in, you are going to, up at the top right here, there's going to be a number gym. And as you can see, I completed it already. I don't know if yours is going to be the same as mine, but mine was place value practice and comparing numbers. Also, the last time I logged in, this didn't pop up, but this time it did, so maybe it will for you, maybe it won't. This wildcard math laughs right here, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, but if it pops up, feel free to check it out. Then, once you're finished your number gym, you'll automatically be able to start a sprint, and the sprint is just like we were doing in class. It will give you, so if you click on start and click go, you'll see you have 60 seconds to answer as many as you can. And mine is multiplication. So all I'm going to do, 3 times 2 is 6. 30 times 2, 60, and so on and so on and so on. And it'll see how many I can do. And then it'll check it. If I get any wrong, it's going to have me answer those problems again before it gives me the second side B. Then once I'm done with that, it's going to tell me how much I improved from the first try to the second try. And then it's going to go right into my lesson, which everyone will be, lesson 7, fun with partial products. So that's where it's going to start. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Avery Soto from Miss Mac's class, who is the only one so far who has logged on to Zearn since we've been home. So great job, Avery. I hope next time I can have a few more shout outs because don't forget, I can always see your progress. So like I said, if you need your username, please email me or Dojo me and I will get that to you right away. All right, happy math.
All right, 4th grade again. I just want to give us a little extension and introduce us into what we were going to be learning after fractions, which is geometry. I'm not sure exactly how much exposure you've had in 3rd grade. If you know anything about geometry, if you don't, so that's why I just kind of want to give us a little bit an introduction, a little bit of background. I know some of us in my homeroom during intervention, you were introduced to it and you did get to practice it a little bit. So this might be a little bit of a review, or it might be a little bit more in depth than we went into those couple weeks in class. So the first thing I just want to introduce us to is that, we have the very first basic term in geometry, and that's a point. And a point is one very, very specific location. So on my whiteboard on my screen, as you can see, I have point A. That's 1 point, and it's a little bit, big, a little bit messy because I wanted to make it big enough for you to see. But because if I just went like that, it's kind of tiny, you might not be able to see it. But that's what a point is: one specific spot, one specific location, and we would label that or name that or identify that as point A. Okay, so I'm just going to draw another point on my white screen, and I already have point A. So I'm going to name this point, point B. That's a different specific location on my screen, okay? So if I really wanted to get technical, I could think about, how many points could I put on this entire screen? And the answer is a lot. I could put a lot of points, but we're not going to do that. If you have time and you want to, go for it. But we're not going to. So right now on our screen, we have point A and we have point B. And those are two different specific locations on our screen. So what I'm going to do now is I don't have a straight edge or a ruler or something that's straight. If you do and you want to go along with this at home on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, you're more than welcome to. So I'm just going to do my very, very best to connect point A and point B as straight as I can. Now my 2 points are connected. And as you can see, point A is where my line segment starts, and point B is where my line segment ends or stops. So that's the next term that I want to introduce us to in geometry, is the line segment. And what a line segment is, it's part of a line. So it's a specific part of a line that has a beginning point and an end point. Okay, there's a point on each end of that line segment. What that means is that in either direction, that line segment or that piece of that line stops. It cannot go any further. It's like a stop sign right there. Okay, so if we were going to label or name this line segment, we could name it as either line segment AB, or we could name it line segment BA. And it's very important that either way that you name it, it's okay. Whichever way you name it though, make sure that on top you draw a line segment. So that way that when you're reading it, you know, oh, it's a line segment. I know exactly what that means. Point A is the beginning, point B is the end point, and it's only between those 2 points. Okay? All right. Let me erase this. All right. So we had point A. I'll just draw another point A. And we have a point B, and we have them connected. So that's our line segment, point A and point B. Okay, now what if, let's say, I add another point and I label it point C. Only now I'm going to start at my point A and I'm going to connect my point A and point C. But instead of stopping at C, I'm going to go a little bit further and I'm going to put an arrow. So I apologize. I tried to make that as straight as I could, and I make an arrow. Now that looks a little bit different than our line segment AB, doesn't it? It looks a little similar, but it also looks a little bit different. So the similarity, the part that's the same, is on point A. You can see both line segment AB and our new thing that we drew both start in A, and it both starts with a point, point A. There's one specific starting point, right? But we know with line segment AB, it stops once it gets to point B. But if we look at point C, we see that our line continues. That arrow that we see, it means that that continues forever in that one direction. Only in that direction. So this is actually, it's called array, an R-A-Y. And what array is basically is a part of a line that has a beginning point, but then it goes on forever and ever and ever, only in one direction only. And obviously our papers and our whiteboards and our computer screens are not long enough or big enough for us to show that the ray goes on forever and ever and ever. So that's why we draw that arrow, to just symbolize or show that that's what that means. So let me just erase this really quickly. Okay, so the way that we would write this, if we were going to write this, would be ray A C. Now we have to distinguish or show that it's a ray. So the way we do that is we draw the same symbol that we drew for a line segment. However, right here is where my ray goes on forever and ever, point C. It goes past point C. So what I need to do is I need to show that right here. So on my point C, I'm going to show that that's the direction that my ray goes. If it went the other way, then I would have the arrow on the side of the point A. So that we would read that as ray AC. Okay, all right, so there's one more thing. Let me erase this that I want to introduce us to right now. And that is, there we go. Okay, so we saw that with array, we have an end point, a starting point, which is an A, and then we have, and it goes on forever and ever by our arrow. And we know that that's ray AC. But what would happen if we extended our ray in the other direction as well? So not only will our ray, or the piece of our line, go forever in this direction, but what if it also goes forever in the other direction? So in both directions, it goes on forever. And that's why we have our arrows on both sides, to represent or to symbolize that it goes on forever in both directions. What do you think that would be called? You're correct. That is called a line. And the definition of a line in geometry is it goes on forever and ever and ever in both directions. And that's, like I said, what we symbolize with our arrows. And the way that we would write this, we could write this in two different ways. So we could write this as line AC, and make sure that you have the arrows on top of the A and the C, to show that it goes on in both directions. Or you could also label this as line CA, and again, make sure that you show with the arrows that it's a line that it goes on in both directions. Okay, so that was just a little bit of an introduction into geometry. Next video, we'll go a little bit deeper with our extension and a little bit of our new information. I am going to post a picture of the exit ticket. And what I want you to do is I want you to take the information that I introduced you to today in this video, and I want you on a piece of paper or whiteboard, whatever, I want you to answer it. It's just a matching terms with what they mean. And I want you to practice on your own. And then if you do it, I want you can either send it to me on Class Dojo, or you can email it to me, and I can check it and get back to you. I also have a video that's going to be put like an extension to this after this, of just some extra practice that you can do with geometry on a website called, I believe it's mathgames.com. I have more information specifically about that and where to go. That's coming up after the exit ticket that you're going to see. But I want you to practice a little bit of geometry on there, get yourself, kind of familiar with it, and then look around at some of the other skills that are on there and play around with them also. And, just get a little bit of extra practice, extra review, maybe introduce you to some other skills and concepts that we haven't gotten to yet in 4th grade. But I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that you guys are all staying safe and being healthy and enjoying this unexpected time with your parents. I miss you guys, and I'm very sad that we're not going to be coming back to 4th grade, but you guys all better come visit me next year. Hopefully the Zoom screen, it worked, and it was a little bit easier for us than me turning around on that big whiteboard. I'm trying to be a little bit more techie, so we'll see how that goes. Let me know if you liked it better or worse than last video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Don't forget I'm ready. Let me see. Fix this. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, so one website that you can go on to get a little bit extra math practice is www.mathgames.com. And when you log on to that, what's going to happen is you are going to come to a page that looks like this, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. What I want you to do is scroll down to the bottom, and I want you to find Practice Math by Grade, and obviously grade 4, and click on it. Now, when you come to this page, these are going to be all of the 4th grade skills and standards that 4th graders see. But we are going to be up here with geometry. So make sure you find the skill that says geometry. And I want you to find the one that says lines, line segments, and rays 4.2, and click on that. Usually what's going to happen, I was already on this, so the video already played, but it's like YouTube, a little ad pops up, and then after a couple seconds you can skip it, but then it starts asking you some questions, and it just says, what is this? And it shows you a picture, and you just click it. Oh, good try, keep going. So make sure that you're paying attention to what's on each side. That's a line, correct. So each game has 10 questions. A green box means it was correct. A yellow box means that it was incorrect. There are different levels. Earn up to 5 stars for each level. The more questions that you answer correctly, the more stars that you'll unlock. So as you answer the questions, once you answer them, it will move you on to the next level. I want you to challenge yourself and see how far you can get and how many levels you can get up to at one time. And then maybe, like we do in class, set a goal for yourself and see if you can beat that. Good luck.